Hello, friend. Welcome to this week's episode of the Remarkable People podcast. Whether you are a first time listener or a lifelong friend of ours, we are so thankful you're here. We hope you not only get content that you can grow with, apply to your life practically, and just enjoy more success, joy, and peace, but we also hope you can share it with your friends and they can experience that too. Like our slogan says, don't just listen to these great episodes, but do the good you know you need to. Form a habit, repeat it each day so you can have an amazing life, a remarkable life in this world, but most importantly, in eternity to come. So today we have with us Bryan Kramer. You're going to hear Bryan's story. You're going to see how he started several companies. He's a keynote speaker. He's wrote award-winning books. He's an author on several international blogs, and he has started a human to human company and book. And this is where he connects humanity to business. And it shows how important it is for us to break the obsessive loops in our mind, for us to really get out the trash that's holding us back, and how to really put people first, starting with ourselves and then expanding out to the world. So at this time, unless you're driving or running, get a pen and paper out, get your favorite beverage, be ready to take notes, and listen to this amazing, remarkable interview with our friend Bryan Kramer now.
The Remarkable People Podcast. Check it out. The Remarkable People Podcast. Listen, do, repeat for life. The Remarkable People Podcast.
Hey, Bryan, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Man, I'm remarkable. I was just telling our listeners around the world a little bit about you and what to expect in this episode, but straight from the source. If someone commits to spending the next few minutes together with us, what's one thing you guarantee they're going to be able to take, apply to their lives, and be an even better human?
I'd say that the one thing is how can you be more of a connective tissue so that you can get closer into relationships or get closer into the areas that you feel like you're missing out on. So what is it that you want more of? And we're going to get you that.
All right. And today, people are more socially connected, right? But it's not social. It's just digital. It's fake. It's a highlight reel. And people are less connected now, especially to family, than they have been in history. So, talk about your life, Bryan. What was your upbringing like? What was your path to today? Because everything that happens to us, good, bad, ugly, pretty, pretty ugly, it makes us the men and women we are, right?
Mm.
Saying that, what formed you to bring you to where connection is so important?
Mm. Yeah. Well, connection's been my if I had one thread across my life that I believe in, that I've been through, that I believe in, that's the thread. It's what my books are about. It's what my companies have thrived on, and it's who I am at the core. And it to answer your question, it goes back to really who I was even in grade school. Like I thrive always thrived on relationships and connecting with different. I was the guy that hung out with all the groups of people in high school. There wasn't like an area that I kind of glommed onto. It was like, who was fascinating and could I talk to today. My professional life really started out as most of my work was done in helping in transformation, and transformation comes in lots of different flavors, but most of the transformation work that I did was in Silicon Valley, where I was born and raised before it was Silicon Valley, and helping communications companies and then every kind of company out there pretty much to help them transform from traditional to digital at the advent of the internet. and then into social, and then into what we now know of all the other stuff going on with AI and augmented reality and bots and all that good stuff. So most of what I really focused on was change and transformation. How do we get from where we are to where we want to be, or keep up with things that are going on, and not just even keep up, but how do we stay ahead of it? And so I'd focus there, and really it came down to people. So what do we need to transform? What do we believe that we want to transform into? What is it going to take to get there? And then what are the roadblocks that we foresee that's going to hold us back from getting there? And that's not rocket science. That's stuff that we already know. Like, we need to zero in on those things. But the thing that mattered the most in every area and every business that I'd ever worked in, or the businesses that I built and ran, what or co-ran, was really getting into an alignment and getting into an agreement with other people, and getting a shared sense of where do we all want to go, that we can buy into, that individually it serves us, and as a group or as a company it also serves the company, and then we can get there. And so it's not a straight path. There's no easy line, no silver bullet, but when you get in alignment, it makes it faster, it makes it easier. And that's where I focused, is in structure, systems, and people. If you can get those three dialed in, then you've got a much straighter line to getting to where you want to go.
Yeah, it's almost a formula for success, right?
It's a much better way of working. It gives you a little bit more certainty. Not that everything's certain in this world, right? But what do we want? What we crave most is certainty, that we're going to get a paycheck, or that we're going to get a new client, or we're going to get that raise, or that we're going to rise up through the ranks of whatever business that we're in. And all of those things are related back to those ingredients. And so if we can start to apply what I think is involved in each of those areas, then yeah, it does matter a lot.
Yeah, 100%. So now, going back, the way you thought is unique. I'd say the majority of society. Would you say that your family, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, you didn't really talk about if you had siblings, but was your family geared mentally like you are, or were you the uniquity? What was that like growing up? Were you the person that was always outside the box, or was everybody wired that way and it made it easy for you?
In a sense, I'm the black sheep. So I was not, no. I'm the anomaly in the family, because my mom was a teacher, my dad was a physician. They both were educators. They both taught. My dad was a teaching doctor for a good portion or most of his career, and my mom was a grade school teacher and speech pathologist. And so there was a lot of education in our family, and growing up, that was really helpful to me, because I grew up with ADHD and I had a lot of squirrels and shiny pennies. And so they worked with me to not see it as a detriment, but rather a superpower, and how I could get through it. My brother became a physician as well. And so he followed in the footsteps, and of the medical side, and I went into entrepreneurship. And quite frankly, I don't know if my parents actually totally understood that path, or why I was doing it at a certain point, why I picked it, and grew to understand it after some time. They saw exactly why I did it and how it matched who I was and what I needed to do, and are very proud of. They've told me of the work that I did and I'm doing, but it wasn't at the time. I don't think it was something that made sense to the family. So yeah, that was certainly an element that I had to work through.
Yeah, the Bible talks about how a prophet's not, honored in his own home. A lot of times when you have a gift, when you're growing up, people don't understand you, or they're like, "What are you doing?" And you are like the black sheep. But yet when it's used properly, you help people. So it's always interesting to me. That's why we go to the childhood, just to see. Because some people are like, no, my mom and my dad were totally supportive. They thought that way. So it was just second
Mm.
nature. But for you, you were different. Okay. So now let's do this. Where you are today, you're working with people. What's the top challenge and obstacle you see in the way of your fellow human?
Well, We could talk for the next few hours on the top obstacle because there's not just one.
Yeah, I'm saying,
It,
but ones that you commonly hear. I know there's a ton, but
yeah,
the ones that come up regularly that, you know, 80%, we'll deal with.
I think it's getting in our own head would be one of them. And that's the mental loop that we all have. There isn't a human on earth that doesn't have a mental loop or goes through that. It's the signal that you think that you need to retell yourself this a story of sometimes the saboteur, like I do that right, or I should have done that, or I could have done that. Sometimes it's that's past tripping. Sometimes it's future tripping. I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough because it's not going to yield me the thing that I want. And so I see a lot of past tripping and future tripping, which is the worst place that you can be unless it's proactive, unless it's something that is informing where you want to be. But when you get into that mental loop and that cycle that we all get into, it really starts to degrade your all of our thinking into holding us back from taking action or doing something that we could be doing just even a little bit more to move the needle. The other thing I'd say is that fear is like the number one thing. Fear shows up in many shades of whatever that means to each person. And as you start to look at fear of even like sending an email to somebody, it could be as small as like, oh, I don't want to put myself out there, to stepping on a stage in front of 10,000 people, and everything in between, getting into a business and starting a business. When I hear a lot of people say, I really wished I had started a business and I just worked for a company the whole time, or I still feel like I could, but that's just like, I don't have the resume. I don't have the right pedigree to be able to go do that. There's so many different aspects of fear that plays into, that conversation. And I think that there is a way through it, and the only way through it is to go through it. It's to speak it out loud, to say it to somebody, not just to yourself, to say it to someone who can listen without holding whatever it is that you have to say to you, and holding up a mirror and really starting to get your mind going into what are those blind spots, and then now what do we do with them? Because when you say stuff out loud to another human being, and it's the stuff you haven't said before, and I'm not just talking about like devastating stuff, but stuff that just lives in there that you just need to get out. It's like a mind dump, and you start to get that out, it just starts to clear away, and you start to really realize like the cobweb is what's holding you back, and getting clarity is through speaking it and being with it. And once you can be with it, man, it changes everything.
So that's one of the big first steps, is clearing it out, talking it.
Oh, yeah. It's like, imagine a filing cabinet. Our brains are like filing cabinets. You have so much that you think you want to do, or you could be doing, or projects or tasks or things that you got to get done. And each of those is a different file in the filing system that you're holding in your brain. And we got to start to unpack that and pull each of the file folders out so that you can start to simplify what matters the most, and getting it down to 3 to 5 folders in a big, huge filing cabinet so that you can really hone in on the things that matter the most.
Yeah. And how do you recommend? Because I always use journaling, writing things down a lot to kind of capture them on paper and sort through and organize. Do you implement journaling and how you work with people, or do you strictly go verbal?
Yes. Yeah. Yes to both. It depends on the person, right? So for you, writing a journal might be the best way possible. For another friend of mine that I have, he would prefer he clicks record on his notes app, and every day for like 20 to 30 minutes he'll start hiking around, and he'll just start speaking, and it sometimes makes no sense and sometimes it makes brilliant sense, and at the end of it he mind dumps the whole thing out of whatever it is that he's going through. So it can be a combination of two. There's also, one of my favorite tools is the 5 minute journal. And there's both an app and a book that they provide. And it really is 5 minutes, but it's 2.5 minutes in the morning or 2 minutes in the morning and another 2.5 minutes at the end of the day. And it's very basic. It just gets you into the routine and the ritual of writing down what are 3 things you want to do today. Not 10, not 80, but 3 if you are successful. I like to focus in on 3 things that are, one's personal, one is for someone else, and one is for work that you got to get done that day. If you can just do those 3 and focus in those 3 categories, you're now fulfilling like a full life. Because if you do those 3 things and you get them done, everything else is a cherry on top. And now you're going to be a lot more fulfilled at the end of the day, feeling like you got done what you really wanted to, and everything else was that cherry. So I think that's great. And then at the end of the day, just reflecting, like not what should I have done? You don't want to should on yourself, but what could I do, knowing what I now know, differently tomorrow? And if you could just come up with that one basic thing, at the end of the day, it's going to make your life a little bit easier every day.
Yeah, I think those are great tips. And our slogan, Bryan, is actually listen, do, repeat for life. Listen to what Bryan's saying. Do it, form good habits, repeat it each day so you can have a great life in this world, but most importantly, in eternity to come. So what you're doing and breaking down for our audience is perfect. Thank you. When people get in their heads, and sometimes it's just years of their environment. They were just always beat up, right? So they have this inner voice that beats them up. And you talked about the loops and the cycles. And somebody could fail and have a loop, but somebody could still succeed and have a loop. It's never good enough. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, it doesn't matter if it was sports or if it was work. They close a sale. They're always saying like, oh yeah, I closed a sale, but it could have been for more. Man, I hit a home run, but I could have got 2. It's always never enough. What do you recommend for people in that kind of loop to break the cycle and
So I was,
heal it?
sorry.
No, and to heal it to a healthy cycle?
Yeah, I was that person. So first, let me just speak this out loud so that you kind of know where I'm coming from. I did that in the most burned out kind of way. I got myself into such a high mental loop, burned out crisis, that it ended up getting me into the hospital. And it was because I pushed. I was running a company of 30 employees. I was speaking and traveling 200 days a year. I had 2 little kids at home. I was morbidly obese. I was 85 pounds heavier than I am right now. I had diabetes. I had a drinking problem. If there was something that I should add to the list, I added it to the list, and it kept compounding into a new challenge that I now needed to deal with. And I caved. I ended up, taking a look at my life and saying, Uncle, that's enough. I can't keep going at this route. And so on the outside looking in, I was living a really cool life in all these 5-star hotels and first class, air flights. And on the inside, I was done. I was cooked. And so the way that I had to, even at that level, and this works at any level, is to take a step back and slow down. That's it. You got to slow down. Yeah, you slow down to speed up. I know you've heard that before, but if you can just take some time to get some mental space and get yourself into a place where you can just be present. And I know, and it's hard because you're still running the same pattern, but you've got to get yourself into a place where you need to be, which for me was like near water. If I could get near water, I could get the ions going, and I could start, really increasing my capacity to just stay present with a moment. And doing that, letting go of speaking for 2 years, letting go of the business and exiting that, and getting myself grounded and losing the weight, all was a mental game. Nothing had to do with, yeah, I needed to eat less, or I needed to drink less, or I needed to do all these other things, but I had to slow down first. And our mind says speed up, go faster, and that's quite the opposite of what what everything is, how we need to be with it. And so that would be my biggest advice. I know that's hard, and that's why you need somebody, I think, to help keep you accountable, whether it's a friend, a parent, a pastor, a coach, a mentor, somebody that you can sit and talk with, and you can hear yourself speak it and then go, okay, now I know like what is on the inside and what's on the outside, and how I can start to make sense of all of this. That's going to be the first critical component, I think. And then you can get yourself to slow down a little bit even more, yet every day, but slow down, because really nothing really is devastating and is going to take you down faster than going too fast.
Yeah, and nothing can get you out of the hole if you're sick. I mean, you can be healthy, you can be sick, you can be rich, you can be poor, but peace you can have despite your circumstances. But if you're just going 180 all the time, you're going to crash and you will be sick. And then that list is going to get far worse, right? I mean, you can't keep up with it when you're in a hospital bed.
Right. Yeah, it's a wake up call, and you don't want that wake up call. There are lots of signs, and the signs point you to to what you need to know. And if you're starting to feel like too many mental loops going on, that's a sign. That's the sign. And now what do you want to do with that?
Yeah, and I think personally, I know for me, and I know for most of my friends who have the issue, but when blood pressure is high, it's most of the time nothing to do with your physiological. Like exercise helps 100%, but it's the stress inside. Because I know
Yeah.
people who are morbidly obese and they're freaking perfect stats because they're chill, they're not stressed. And then you got
Right.
people who are skinny and work out every day and fit, and they're freaking like about to explode, like the cartoon thermometer about to pop. So, what do you recommend the people who can't even sleep at night? Their minds are just racing. How do you recommend they start? Like, what would be something like you and me are talking, and I'm like, Bryan, I can't even sleep at night. My mind's racing. I got all these thoughts. I'm trying to process it. What kind of advice? Because we have listeners all over the world dealing with this, different countries, different cultures, but humans are humans. What would you recommend to do first?
So you got to get yourself centered, right? The biggest thing that I work with is breath. When it comes to that, you got to breath is going to bring you back to where you're at least in the moment. It'll get you to where you can just kind of move at a much better pace, and you want to align your thinking and your heart rate and your breath all together so that it's all in unison. And to do that, I highly recommend box breathing. Box breathing was made popular by Navy SEALs. When Navy SEALs would get themselves into a bad situation, they're under fire, they can't see their way out, they don't see the exit, and they feel like they're trapped. Then they've been taught and learned how to box breathe, even for a short moment. And box breathing is all equal parts. So you think of a box, it's four equal lines. And so that's the same thing as a breath. So the breath would be four equal sides. So let's say you choose 3 seconds. So it'd be a 3 second, 3 seconds you count in, 3 seconds you count as you hold, 3 seconds as you count as you breathe out, and then 3 seconds for one last hold. And then you do that 3 times. So everything is three, 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 three times, or four, or five, or 10, or whatever makes sense in the moment. Sometimes you're sitting in a meeting and you're under fire, and maybe you're there with an executive team and you're really feeling the pressure. Well, you could just do 1 1 1 1 1 with your eyes open and just take just that brief 4 seconds and just have a moment. So you could do it really fast, and you can do it really like at night and you can't sleep, then maybe go with 5 or 7 seconds each. The idea is to just get yourself to focus in on breath and get yourself to get out of your head. If you can focus on breath and out of your head, you can do it. If you can't get your mind to just start slowing down, begin again and then do it again. And if you still can't do it, then begin again. That's what we are in life. Like what happens to us is we get, it doesn't work the first time, so it must not work for me. And that's the saboteur. The saboteur says, you can't do this. You're never gonna get out of this mental loop. You're never gonna sleep tonight. It's 2 a.m. It's 4 a.m. now. You've been up all night. You might as well stay up. You haven't fallen asleep. So that's the saboteur talking. We got to separate that voice and say, okay, well, that's not me speaking. And now we know, like, okay, well, if that's not me speaking, then what would I say to myself? Because I would never talk to myself that way. What I would say to myself is, you're enough, you're being enough, you're good in this moment, you're safe, you're gonna make it through this. Even if you don't sleep tonight, you get some rest tomorrow. We're okay. So in this moment, knowing that we're safe and everything's okay, then now can we just start to breathe and begin again?
Nice. And then you talk about cleaning out that file cabinet of our brain. So now you do the box breathing, you're gaining control. How do you start cleaning out the cabinet?
Well, the different modalities, right? So there's therapy. That's a one way. There's getting a coach. That's another way. It depends on, what you feel comfortable with starting with. Don't put it off to next week. I'll get myself, someone that I can release this information to. But that is, I think, the key is or sit down and just go to town on a piece of paper and just write down everything you can. Start with 3 things, and I guarantee you'll have a page. By the way, if you feel like you don't have enough for a page, just start with 3 things, and before you know it, you're going to have a page full of things. So just play with that and start simple. Everything has to start simple. What's the 3 things I can write down? What's the 3 things I can do today? What's the 3 things that I can do in a relationship, or in an experience, to travel? Everything gets overwhelming. So let's take that and compress it down to everything being 3 things, 3 seconds, 3, whatever you need. Compress it all down to the simplest version of itself, and then let everything else expand on top of it on its own.
Good, good, excellent advice. So now, Bryan, between your birth and today, is there anything we missed in your life or anything you want to talk about before we transition to where you are today and where you're headed next?
Oh, so I would just add that, and we didn't talk about this, but it might help for people to know that I ended up moving to Lisbon, Portugal 2 years ago from California. And it was a really hard transition, but one of the best things I've done for myself and for my wife and for my kids, who are older now. They're in their 20s, but they've come to visit, and they get to see that, you can make changes and shifts in your life that are good for you, and then also allow, when they come here, they're like, oh my God, this is totally possible. We can move to another country in the middle of our lives, or at any point in our lives, or we can do, really hard things and not be held back by what other people say. Because I was being told all the time, like, well, if you move to another country, then, how are you going to get back? Or what are you going to do if someone gets sick? Or, there's lots of compelling reasons that people come up with for all the reasons for why you shouldn't do something. And we ended up selling absolutely everything down to 13 bags and a dog, and moving. And that's a really cathartic thing, because when you get rid of your stuff, now you're going to make decisions of, should I keep it or should I not? And do I Marie Kondo this stuff, or how do you let go, right? Which is everything that you and I have been talking about here. How do I let go? And I think that is a really important factor. And maybe you're not ready to move to another country, or you're not ready to, or that's not your thing, but decreasing, the amount of stuff that we have in the filing cabinet, the amount of stuff that we have physically in our houses, or in our belongings, that's where to start. That's what's going to get you to loosen things up, so that you can start to feel like everything becomes possible.
Yeah, and to our listeners, Think about what Brian's saying. A lot of times where we feel like our life's out of control, what do? We clean, we move furniture, we change our environment. Somebody goes through a life trauma, they purge their closet. There's something truly connected between the physical goods in our mind, right, Brian?
Right? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have room to breathe and room to chill and relax and enjoy a friendship in full conversation and go out to events and be a part of music and be a part of culture and see things and not be repelled by what's happening in the world, because there are so many things. If you just open your news app, I guarantee you're going to I don't know a person on earth who isn't stressed out by one thing, if not more, that's going on in their news app. And so, the only way to help themselves is to feel more space so that it doesn't feel so compounding. And so, the more that you can enrich your life, the less that's going to impact you. The news channels and the social channels and the incoming emails and all of the things that are coming at us, even without leaving our homes, we're getting more bombarded now than we were 50 years ago, when we'd go out and see billboards and radio and newspapers, which was all there was. But at that time, it felt like a lot too. So no matter where you're at in life, it's going to come at you. How do you want to be with it? And how do you want to respond instead of react? Because if you're in response in full permission, it's not going to touch you as much.
Yeah, and let me ask you a question. We just released an episode with a guest who moved to Lisbon, Portugal as well. I grew up, my best friends to this day, their families from the mountains in Lisbon. What is it about Lisbon
Oh,
that drew you there?
well, at some point, I'd like to hear who that is and connect with them. But I think the biggest thing is just the calm. It's just a very calm place. Now, you might hear from certain people that it's not calm because they grew up in here, or their level of calm is different than what I'm used to. And my level of calm is Silicon Valley, where you wake up at 5 a.m. and you get home at 9 p.m., where you see your kids maybe on a Sunday, and you're just working all the time, and you're pushing very hard. Here it's not the case. Here it's life first, work second. I mean, they take all of August off, no matter who you are. Like the people who are cleaning or close the neighborhood clothes across the street, they close all of August. It's a part of their makeup, part of their culture, that's what they deserve. That's what they do. And then they have more holidays than I've ever seen. They've got, like, you think that we have holidays in the US. I swear to God, there's either a bank or a country holiday happening here once every 2 weeks for at least a day. And everyone's like, oh yeah, did you know that we're off Friday? And I'm like, had no idea, because I'm not used to that constant take care of yourself first mentality coming from the culture of a country that wasn't what I was used to. And so it's very European mentality. And I think that is the biggest shift for why we wanted to move here, why Lisbon made sense to us. It was close to the US, to answer your question. So I can get back in 5 to 6 hours, and it would take me 5 to 6 hours coming from California to New York. And so same time frame, and the healthcare is wonderful. The people are amazing. The food is unbelievable. There's 6,700 restaurants in just Lisbon alone. And I can get to anywhere in Europe for less than €100 or thereabouts. And that's just icing on the cake, to be able to, jump on a plane and go somewhere in Europe and be able to travel and enjoy, Europe. So I could keep going. There's a ton of benefits, but those are some of the key ones.
Very nice, very nice. So, Brian, if somebody wants to reach out, how do they get a hold of you? What's the best modality to reach you?
I'll give you two really, really easy ways. So you can go to my website at bryankramer.com. That's Bryan with a Y and Kramer with a K. So bryankramer.com, or you can email me at private. So it's my private email. So it's private@bryankramer.com. And both of those will come. You can sign up for my newsletter on my website, and I'll reply to it in true human to human fashion. If I didn't do that, who would I be, right? So just sign up on the newsletter. If you have a question, I'll hit reply. If you need something, it's on the site, and then enjoy the resources. I've got lots of information resources there that you can dive into for free. And or you can just email me directly. And if you want to, I'll tell you what, if anybody reaches out and they ask for a book, for the first 3 people on your podcast that reach out, I'll send them a free copy of my book, Human to Human.
Oh, awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, giddy up. This episode doesn't release for about 3 weeks, but when it does, don't be afraid. Reach out to Bryan and see where you land. All right, Bryan, it's been a true honor and pleasure, my friend. Is there any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with, or anything we skipped that, like, Dave, I can't believe you're going to ask me that. Is there anything else we need to cover before we wrap up this hour?
You got a good amount of stuff. Thank you, man, for inviting me on and doing this. I really enjoyed it. I think we covered just about everything I can think of. The only thing I'll leave you with is that if there was ever a time to think about what it means to be human right now, I believe that being human is everyone's competitive advantage now more than ever. With as much as there is automation and technology going on, if you want to stand out, think about the human moments of truth. Those little human moments that make a difference in your life. Think about the last time it made a difference for you, when somebody did something that felt human. That's the same thing that you should be doing for others. And that applies at a really big level, at the enterprise business level, as an entrepreneur, or even just in your day-to-day life. Just think about, what does it mean to stand out and be more human than everyone else? And it doesn't take much these days.
No, it's awesome that it doesn't take much, but it's sad sometimes that it doesn't take much. So I'm trending with you. I'm agreeing with you completely. The Bible wraps up, when they ask Jesus, what's the most important? It's love God with all the heart, soul, and mind, and love thy neighbor as thyself. Same thing. Just love each other and treat people well the way you want to be treated and the way God says to. So, Bryan, it's been a true honor, my friend. Thanks for being on the Remarkable People podcast today.
Thanks, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Oh, always. And ladies and gentlemen, you know the drill. Don't just take this information and be like, oh, that's really good. Apply what Bryan says. Reach out to him. Grab his book, whether it's free or not. Do it. Repeat it each day so you can have a great life in this world and, more importantly, an eternity to come. So take this episode, share it with your friends and family, not just so Bryan and I get more followers, but so we help more people and we're just better together. That's it. I'm David Pasqualone. This was our remarkable friend, Bryan, and we will see you in the next episode. Ciao. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely hope this show has inspired you. The whole purpose of the Remarkable People podcast is to inspire you, to motivate you into action, to help you have an even better life, to overcome things you've not yet been able to overcome, or to grow to the next level that you never thought possible. And all of this, not just to benefit you in this world, but to have you come to a relationship with God where it grows every day stronger, and not just this world is blessed, but your eternity is blessed. And we sincerely want to do just that and to glorify God. And we hope with this episode we accomplish that. If we did, please let me know. It's great to be encouraged and to spread the word to our remarkable guests that it helped in your life. If we didn't, let me know. Write me an email. You can go to davidpasqualone.com, go to our contact us page, and let me know what you think. I got tough skin. Let it rip. Anything you can think of to make this a better podcast, to help you grow and to glorify God, I'm in. So that's it. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Thank you for sending us feedback. If we can help you in any way, let us know. And if you can spread the word about the Remarkable People podcast, share the episode to your friends, your family on social media, it would be a huge honor and blessing. Again, I'm not trying to be the most famous podcast in the world for my benefit. I truly want a podcast that's the best podcast in the world to help as many people as we can to have a better life, come to know Christ, to grow in the Lord, and to have that salvation so they can be with God in peace and joy in eternity. And right now we're together on this earth, so let's do everything we can to work together and help each other grow. Like the Bible says, love the Lord thy God is the first commandment, and the next commandment is to love thy neighbor as thyself. So let's do it together. I'm David Pasqualone. I love you, not as much as God loves you, but if I can help you in any way, just ask. And again, please share this with your friends and family so we can help them too. Ciao. See you in the next episode.